Miss Ruiz refused to change her last name to mine, in which wouldn't have been such a big deal if it was her maiden name, but her last name is her ex-husband's last name.
And your parents tell you that your husband makes a comment about how great it is to marry a sugar mama. Things change, and so
you married him. I mean, you know, this is your husband that you're talking about here.
This is one for the books. It's a sordid saga of seduction, secrets, and cold hard cash, baby. It'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about modern romance. Meet Tiffany Ruiz, the sugar mama turned sour, hell-bent on getting her money back from her former lover, John Markham, a silver-tongued Casanova with a rap sheet longer than his job history, and Judge Faith, the voice of reason in this dilemma. Now picture it, it's 2007, the wild west of social media, MySpace reigns supreme, and our lovebirds are about to collide in a digital disaster of epic proportions. Sucked in by a catchy line, Tiffany Ruiz did not know the extent of the web of lies she was about to be caught in.
I met Mr. Markham in 2007, met him on the internet, and we started dating.
What website do you remember?
I don't.
Okay.
I actually think it was MySpace.
Oh, MySpace. Okay.
Yeah.
This was back in the 80s then. No, I'm just kidding. All right, go ahead.
And he had a catchy line, and I was coming off
What
of
was the catchy line?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I just remember it being the line.
Okay.
Fast forward 1 year later, and our Romeo's dark past comes crashing down like a house of cards in a hurricane. Mr. Markham gets arrested at the very moment he was bringing her insurance, no less. Tiffany, blinded by either love or was it lust, decides to bail out her bad boy to the tune of $2,800.
So before we got married, he had a warrant. He had several citations that I had no idea about. Wasn't something that John really kind of divulged. We got into a circumstance where he was bringing me insurance, and he got his license and his registration ran for the truck that he was driving, and the police arrested him at that time for an outstanding warrant.
For what?
Failure to pay fines.
Okay.
He spent his 30 days, and I waited for him. But part of his contract for being released on his 30 days after his thing was to get his fines paid, because he had several that were not taken care of for a really long time. So he had to have those things taken care of in order to stay out of jail.
Now I know what you're thinking. Surely this is where she comes to her senses and runs for the hills. Oh, you sweet summer child. This is just the beginning of our descent into marital madness. Because what does our love-struck heroine do next? She marries him. That's right. She takes John to Hawaii and makes him her lawfully wedded husband. But was it true love or a calculated move in a game of financial chess?
John had a really hard time holding consistent jobs. Part of that reason was because he was a certified exhaust tech, a well tech, and in order to drive those cars, he had to have a license. So every time he would get the job, he would have no trouble getting the job. They would let him go because their insurance would not cover him because he had no license. So I was constantly supporting us throughout our marriage, and that was becoming an issue. So we couldn't afford to live.
That's what a lot of spouses have to do sometimes.
I mean,
If I may, I may have job jumped. I did do that, but I was always consistent about having jobs, and I never went very long without having a job or having income.
And,
Okay.
I have stuff here too, Your Honor, for like the W-2 showing how much unemployment John had collected because he had been unemployed for so many times. And so
You married him. I mean, you know, this is your husband that you're talking about here.
John says he has been consistent about having jobs, but it's kind of sounds like he was more consistent at losing jobs rather than keeping them, unfortunately. But hold on, this gets weird. You have to hear this.
things change. You know, when something is amazingly great and then all of a sudden you get married and your parents tell you that your husband makes a comment about how great it is to marry a sugar mama, things change, and John changed.
A sugar mama. The audacity, the betrayal. Future would actually be impressed by this. But wait, did he really say it, or is this a carefully crafted lie to garner sympathy in the courtroom? The plot thickens faster than week-old milk, because just when you think it can't get any more twisted, John drops this bombshell.
Things that he would
Is that
say
true?
and things that he would
No,
do.
ma'am. The reason that our marriage did eventually fall apart was due to the circumstances that 6 months into the marriage, Miss Ruiz refused to change her last name to mine, and which wouldn't have been such a big deal if it was her maiden name, but her last name is her ex-husband's last name.
The reason I did that, Your Honor, I'm gonna do that because I'm giving myself to somebody fully, and unfortunately after we got married and I found out all these things, I wasn't gonna let him on my bank accounts. I wasn't gonna change my name because I didn't see the marriage as lasting.
Was Tiffany still carrying a torch for her ex? Or was this a power move to keep John under her thumb, making this marriage seem to be a financial hostage situation? What do you think is the reason? Even though she stated her reasons, which are actually very sensible, could this be a bit deeper? Because what you're about to hear could have you reaching for a bottle of Jack and take it without the dash. With that being said, John reveals a twist so shocking. You gotta hear this.
Why have you brought this lawsuit now?
He stopped making payments.
And the fact that it's a little awkward to me that I had just previously gotten married. I just got married last month.
I can answer why. I couldn't find him. So I found where his wife, now wife, had posted where they were getting married and what was going on, and that was the only way I could have him served. I had no idea
where were
he
you served?
was.
Actually, at my in-laws' house the day before my wedding.
While Tiffany's plotting her revenge, John's been busy playing the field. And how does our scorned woman respond? With a move so cold, so calculated, it should actually get used in a Tyler Perry movie. Serving him papers on the eve of his new wedding is really cold. Was this the act of a woman wronged, or the final desperate move of a jilted ex-lover who just wants her money back? Interestingly, the judge drops a legal bombshell that'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice, and will ensure that you familiarize yourself with prenuptial agreements.
You didn't have a prenuptial agreement, right?
No.
And you just told me that you didn't have a post-nuptial agreement. You don't have anything in writing about who will be responsible for what debts. If you wanted him to pay back this money, this should have been a part of your divorce dissolution, your divorce decree, a post-nuptial agreement. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at this is community property debt, ma'am. I cannot order him to pay back community property debt. Unfortunately, I cannot help you. Your case is dismissed, judgment for the defendant.
And just like that, Tiffany's dreams of sweet, sweet revenge evaporate. But is this really the end or just the beginning?